of Vlogtober. I am your host, Justka, and this is my co-host extraordinaire,
Samuel.
And today we are continuing on with our faves of horror movies. Again, it is my turn, and of course, as you couldn't tell, we're watching the Friday the 13th. So it was really hard for me to choose which one's my favorite. I'm torn between number 1, but we're gonna go with number 4, the final chapter, because it's also really good to me. Again, my own opinion. So drag me if you want.
This is the start of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy for you Friday the 13th fans out there.
Why is it one of my faves? Because we have baby Crispin Glover up in here.
Dead fuck.
He's a dead fuck. We also have Corey Feldman playing, of course, Tommy Jarvis. I like it because I feel like it's a bit more... I don't know, I like all the kills. The kills are pretty good.
I think it's the true essence of Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
If you pictured one in your head, this is the one that you're picturing.
Mm-hmm. Except maybe the first one. First one...
Yeah, but I mean, when you, as a overall series, I think this is the one that you picture in your head.
Yeah. Of
just teenagers get murked, get wrecked. This is the one that you think of, you know.
Alright, so Friday the 13th, number 4, the final chapter. It was released in 1984. With a runtime of 91 minutes. Directors, there are 2. We have Joe Hoffman and Joseph Zito. And of course, our little blurb, after his revival in a hospital morgue, the hockey mask murderer fixes his vengeful attention on the Jarvis family and a group of high-hearted, carefree teenagers. Young Tommy Jarvis is an aficionado of horror films with a special talent for masks and makeup. Has the diabolical Jason finally met his match?
It's important to note, actually, when this film came out, this was supposed to be the end of Friday the 13th, and it just kept making money. So, obviously we had to figure out a way to bring it back. So, they did, inevitably, because there are 11?
I think so, yeah.
12, I guess technically if you include the remake.
Which isn't bad.
No,
it's
actually the remake is actually pretty decent. But
yeah, different take on Jason. But for another time.
Yeah. So going in, we already know what to expect. Something we should point out here is there is no free way to watch this.
It was free a couple months ago on Prime. But we just checked, and it's not free anymore. So we're gonna rent it for the sake of time.
And likely, inevitably, I'll just buy a Blu-ray box set of Friday the 13th. Because I know it's her favorite character, but he's also my favorite of the 3. Well, you can't see it at the moment. Maybe you've seen it before, my little Blu-ray DVD background. I do have all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, a couple of the Halloweens, but in terms of Friday the 13th, I think I only have Jason X, which is very fun. It's not a good movie, but it's very fun.
Oh, is that the one in space?
Yeah.
Jason in space. Yeah, that was a good one.
Jason X.
That one's just fun to, that's just comedic fun for me, but I felt like because that's also one of my favorites, but I felt like for this series, because we want to stick to somewhat of a traditional horror, because Jason X is just hilarious. It's just fucking hilarious.
It's just fun.
It's just fun.
It's really fun. But that's the way it goes for most of the Friday the 13th movies. They're all just fun, you know, and so that's, you know, I haven't revisited this one in a long time, so I'm just looking to have fun tonight. You know, got my hat on and everything. So I guess we will see you guys in about 91 minutes.
Hello, and we are back from our wonderful adventure of Friday the 13th, number 4, the final chapter. Oh, Jason, how you warm my heart.
Yeah, I think I really taught her well in the slasher genre because this is easily the best of the early Friday the 13th movies, and the simple fact that it's her favorite, it warms my heart. What can I say about it? It is the quintessential Friday the 13th movie. Outside of, it doesn't take place at Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-mm.
That's the only down part about it.
I mean, they run around the lake.
True, but, you know, we got teenagers, horny teenagers, smoking weed, drinking, getting naked. We got all the classics here. We're playing the greatest hits, and you also have Crispin Glover and a young Corey Feldman. Right on. Also, it's worth noting this is the start of, in the Friday the 13th franchise, what is known as the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. That'd be part 4, 5, and 6. Just as an offshoot. Go.
Yeah, this one was really hard, like I said earlier, to decide because Jason X is the funnest.
Oh, definitely. That is the most fun and ridiculous one. But the other thing I can say against part 4 is it's not Kane Hodder.
Yeah, that's a con for this. It's not Kane Hodder.
But this is one of the few Friday the 13th where you see Jason actually run.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, he just walks.
This is pre-Jason teleportation powers, etc., and so forth.
You make a good point. This is confirmed dead Jason. So he's technically a human at this point. He is not some sort of undead entity at this point. So this is while he's technically still human.
Mm-hmm. So Jason X is out because it's just comical. I was torn between this one and number 1, and the only reason why I didn't go with the OG is because Pamela Voorhees, spoiler alert, is the actual killer in number 1 in Friday the 13th.
Which you would know if you watch our Scream video. Check that out somewhere. Anyway.
We'll leave a link down below. And I didn't want to pick number 2 where we are introduced to Jason because I feel like number 4 out of all the ones is the strongest one. We have the tropes, we have the seriousness,
you need the mask.
We have the mask.
I mean, right there.
We have the franchise set in place.
I mean, for you right there, for me right there. We need the mask. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't acquire the mask until part 3. Fun little
tidbit.
Trivia.
Mm-hmm. So we need the mask because that's what's recognizable, of course, besides the machete.
Machete.
Don't be ridiculous. Yeah, we haven't gone into Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers, so the triple threat, the OGs of horror movies per se.
Something we could think about doing, but we haven't gone into that too much because our parameters haven't really allowed it.
No.
But I think it's something we explore in the future.
That would be a video I would like to do. Like, not necessarily review every single one of the movies, like, with its own video, but definitely review
the series.
The whole series as a whole, review what's strong about it, and especially compare the 3. I know we have Freddy versus Jason, and that's kind of supposed to be like...
That will be a video unto itself.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's such a rarity that you get. The only other, like, horror, or I guess I would have to extend it to being sci-fi, that we get that actually is like a proper, like, funded movie would be Alien versus Predator.
Yeah.
So it's the only time it's happened. So Yeah, we're gonna do that one as our own thing. I just want her to watch all the Nightmare on Elm Street
I haven't
movies
seen
first.
all of the Freddy movies, or I haven't seen all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, so it wouldn't be fair to compare the two. Although, again, as far as what I've seen, I'm still leaning towards Jason. And then, of course, we have to watch all the Halloween movies. The only Halloween movie I have seen is the newest one that came out not that long ago.
The reason I don't want her to see Freddy vs. Jason until then is because neither one of those franchises has released a new one, like something extending the continuity since that release, except for remakes. So there's no real point in watching the end of sorts, considering it's just the end.
Things that I love about Friday the 13th. We have a good villain. We have our kills spread out nicely. We have our kills done differently for the most part.
Tom Savini, baby.
Yeah. I liked how we got to see our characters grow. I'm all about that character development. I liked that Tommy Jarvis was like a nerdy kid. The family dynamic seemed believable. I didn't really get a lot of the mom per se, but I guess that doesn't really...
she wasn't really important.
It wasn't really important.
I think what you're getting at is this is the true spirit of the Friday the 13th franchise. Because you got everything in it. Titties. You got man butt.
I did get man butt. Yay.
Quite a bit of man butt as well. So for you ladies out there, you want to see some 80s man butt.
Or, you know, whoever swings for men. Doesn't have to be just ladies.
Man butt. Anyways. Pretty cool practical effects. Thank you to Tom Savini. God, you're a legend. It's still set around a lake, which some of the later installments aren't, which obviously that's great that, you know, because Jason and water and all that. You also get a great bit of death acting in the little canoe on this one, which we haven't seen the likes of that since part 3. With the, oh my god! Anyways, watch it, it's brilliant. But, this is truly the heart of the Friday the 13th franchise. And I'm so happy that you picked this one. I'm not trying to brag here, I taught her well. My little child is grown up.
Big baby. Anyway, so as much as we both enjoy Friday the 13th, especially this particular film, we do have to get into the critiques.
There's no critique.
The things that need to be improved.
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Not even?
Not for what it is. No. The only thing that needs to be improved is the music, maybe, but that's about it. Nothing. This is exactly what an 80s slasher was at the time and should have been. There is nothing you should do to mess around with it. There's a reason. I'm bringing up my notes here. No notes. Nothing. Very little. Because this is what is supposed to get you into horror. This is supposed to be your... You know, it's what helps you with it. I mean, if you think there are improvements to be made with your beautifully critical mind.
I'm trying to go in unbiased because remember, this whole week is our faves. And the only thing about it that it's not scary. That's about it, really. That's the only complaint.
I mean, you know, dependent on what you find scary. Same thing with, previously we watched Let Me In, which the biggest problem with that is it wasn't very scary. This is the same sort of thing, but it just depends on what you define as scary. you know, back when this was released, Let Me In came out in 2010. This came out in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at that time, people hadn't seen this sort of stuff too many times. I mean, this is part
number 4.
But, you know, Tom Savini was back.
And I guess that's another reason to like this movie, too. Like, it had...
Tom Savini.
It had vastly improved itself, I think.
Yeah, over the previous sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the problem is that, like, I wanna say it should be improved, and maybe it's actually, you know what? Let me retract what I said. I think the only thing that's hurting it is maybe just fangirling over here. We don't have Kane Hodder, so that's one thing. And then 2, it's not scary. And you guys know me, like, I don't want to be particularly super scared, but just like a bit of thrills. I think because I've seen the other Friday the 13th movies after this one, I'm just like, you set up the ending for Tommy Jarvis to be like the possible creepy killer, and then after that it just kind of like didn't know what the fuck it was doing with his arc.
Remember, this was supposed to be the last.
Yeah. God damn it. But if you look at the ending, it's setting it up for not to be over. Or at least for us to be like, ooh, this kid's gonna be a killer.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the subtitle for this is The Final Friday?
The final chapter.
The final chapter. So this was supposed to be the end, and then it made money, and they were just like, well, we want money. We need the money. You know, we only paid $9 to make this movie, and we made $1 million. So, no, I'm fine with everything in this movie, to be honest with you. It's going to be hard for me to convince myself not to give it a 5 out of 5.
I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5 because if we're, again, I think we're ranking these differently.
Because every single movie that we're going to be watching is going to be from different eras, time periods, styles. So it wouldn't be fair to rank them on one grade necessarily. So, although this you could rank right along Sleepaway Camp, they're both.
But
this came out 1 year later.
This is stronger than Sleepaway Camp, so that's why I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. That's my ranking on that. Again, my justification, it's not particularly scary. I love everything about it. It is my favorite. Jason's my favorite horror villain, but I do need to check my bias. It's not particularly scary, and just a few things need to be tweaked as far as like Jason's story arc. The lake isn't not necessarily addressed per se. I mean, they're by the lake, but we don't get much of the lake.
True.
So that's kind of like weird.
You do get man butt at the lake though. You get man butt skinny dipping.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's unnecessary to have a scene with the camp. Actually, you know what's actually kind of hurting it is like they took a lot of the beginning from the older films. A lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of like, okay, you're
Yeah,
just like...
but that was a thing for the Friday the 13th.
I get it, but like it was like a big amount of time in the beginning.
It was probably 2 minutes longer than it should have been.
Yeah. So I felt like that was a bit lazy.
I'm gonna absolutely agree with you. It is a 4 out of 5. Based on the parameters of when it was released. So 1984, I believe we also get Nightmare on Elm Street at that time, which is much more serious. At least the first one.
The first one is, yeah.
The sequels.
The second one is not very serious.
But at this point, Jason was dominating, you know, the slasher, like, in terms of franchises, he was dominating. And this is easily the best one, and I understand why they wanted it to be the last. This was the tightest story that we got out of it. Like, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you don't get that too often in a Friday the 13th story.
No.
Like, as much as we both love Jason X, which is just bonkers and crazy, but it's fun as hell.
It is very fun. I would suggest if you were trying to get somebody into horror, like, you don't need to watch any of the other Jason Friday the 13th movies, not really. You can just...
Yeah, it doesn't, there's no lore here. It's just all just fun. Mm-hmm. But this one gives you at least a story, which is kind of rare in 80s slashers. It's very rare, actually, I would say. It's just fun, and on top of that, you get to see Crispin Glover and young Corey Feldman. That's always fun, alright? There's enough good moments that you would remember it, and so for me, it is a 4 out of 5. Definitely the strongest of, probably overall, the whole Friday the 13th franchise.
I think the only one it's competing against is the first one, but as far as like purist reasons, but it is a tighter film than the first one.
I would argue 1 and 2. This one definitely has better kills.
Yes.
Tom Savini, once again, shout out. You're a badass. You're a legend. I love you.
I do like, because obviously without the first one, there's no story, there's no Jason. So I do like that the first one sets up the story for Jason. But this one is the tighter film, and you're right, we get an actual story beyond just Jason.
I'm just happy. Weirdly, I don't know if we mentioned this. This actually technically had 2 directors. I don't know if we mentioned that.
We did.
We did, okay. Which is really odd for a non-anthology horror movie. It's weird for anything.
It might be one was stronger as far as like character dialogue, and the other one is possibly stronger in like setting up the climax of the kills.
Possibly. That's strange, but it doesn't hurt the film.
No, it's not hurting the film.
So, Joe Hoffman and Joseph
Zito,
which I assume you had to say Joseph because the other dude was Joe. So, good job. I know this is about 35 years later. Anyways, but looking forward to more work from you. Anyways, I guess that's gonna wrap this one up. It's just a fun film, and you should definitely watch it. If you're only ever gonna watch one Friday the 13th, Jason X, but this would be the one if you want to actually get into the 80s cheese, the beautiful, the 80s cheese. This would be the one.
Yeah, I can agree, for sure. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video. I know our fave videos are kind of long, but we like talking about them because they're our faves.
Cheese.
Alrighty guys, we will see you in the next one.